here. Are you ready? Let's do this. Ready?
Perfect.
Welcome back to another round table of RMSO. Been a long time since us three actually got a chance to sit down, have a conversation with everybody. I think at this point everybody's familiar with who everybody is, but we're going to go through introductions anyway. We got Kelly Shaw over here. Got Jenny. Oh man. She is a higgly. She really is. Just a hard time thinking about it sometimes. I've known you for so long. Because she is a Jenny Lewis to me. So, anyway, but she is. And I'm Derek Wright. We are 3 of the 4 members of Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization. Our 4th member, Jenny's brother, Brody, is experiencing the lovely state of Texas. So, he's not visiting us.
He's getting us closer to Falk, Arkansas. Which
we have full intentions of taking advantage of at some point in the future. But we'll talk about that in the future when it happens. So, we're getting together today. We're going to talk about some of our most recent activity of what we've done. Obviously, you've seen us post some videos of Deadwood. So we're going to reach back, go through some of what we experienced there, talk about it from our perspective of what was going on and not just what was actually in the video. We're going to talk about research areas in general and do's and don'ts within a research area, I guess.
Sure.
Or at least protecting research areas, so to speak. And then we're going to follow this all up, finish it all up with conversations about California, us going down there researching, and you know, some of the things that happened while we were down there that didn't quite make it on camera and or we haven't released yet. So that being said, I think we need to get it started. Deadwood, awesome place. Absolutely love it. Let's start with you, Kelly. What was your whole 2 cents on that whole experience? It was a lot of fun.
I love Deadwood. We went there the first time last year and we didn't know what to expect. A 3-time Bigfoot sighting hotspot. I mean, 3 Bigfoot sightings in 24 hours by 5 witnesses. And the investigator that interviewed a couple of the witnesses thought that they were credible. And so I've taken the Bigfoot sighting very seriously. Class A Bigfoot sighting, 5 people and 3 encounters within 24 hours. So we didn't know what to expect. We got out there and we were pleasantly surprised with the area. It's one of the most remote places it is the most remote place that we've ever been. Let's start off by talking about the River of No Return Wilderness. You just go over a mountaintop and you're in this River of No Return Wilderness. And since we've started Bigfooting about 7 years ago, we find ourselves on the edge of this River of No Return Wilderness. Bigfoot sightings that just surround it and stuff, you know, and we started putting this together just recently, you know. It's like, God, we always find ourselves there, you know. Salmon, Idaho is the furthest north side of it. The actual river that was named, that gave this the name, it takes off into it. And it's over 2.4 million acres. It's one of the largest contiguous forests in the lower 48.
It is the largest.
It is the largest. Death Valley's bigger, but the differences between it and Death Valley, it's, you know, Death Valley is a wilderness area, but this is a forest. Death Valley is not a forest, so yeah, Death Valley is the biggest wilderness, but this is a bigger forest. It's bigger than Yellowstone. And then it is also bordered by 2 national forests, the Salmon National Forest and the Chalice National Forest. And between all of them, it doubles the size, 4.5 million acres of untouched forest. And when you study Bigfoot sighting reports, this entire 4.5 million acres is just full of what Bigfoot likes.
think about that now. Put that in perspective. 4.5 million acres. Just throwing that out there.
Well, just half of that size is bigger than a lot of eastern coast states. You know, like Yellowstone, like Delaware and Rhode Island, and I don't know, some other place the same size as Delaware can fit inside Yellowstone. So, and then double that. You know, you're talking 5 or 6 eastern states will fit inside this place, and people aren't allowed to dwell there. You get a little bit of on the outside, you get a little bit of free rangers and stuff, but the free rangers ain't taking their cattle deep into these places. They're just on the fringes. You know what I mean? So this is a large concentration of untouched wilderness in the lower 48. The only thing that rivals it is Alaska.
Did he mention that Yellowstone's just kind of next door too?
Yeah.
So Yellowstone is not far from all this. Put it all together. Put it all together. So you got free range for anything that wants to go anywhere from Alaska, literally all down to New Mexico, and you could never once run into humans.
And
not once.
We've this general area, we've brought out about a dozen Bigfoot sighting reports. I mean, you just go watch RMSO Bigfoot on YouTube, and you can see these reports that we've put out about the general area. But something that intrigues me the most is starting from the Salmon area all the way up to the Missoula area, north of all of this, more national forests and stuff. There's all kinds of Bigfoot sightings there, and the Bigfoot sightings there are very aggressive. A lot of reports of people being attacked and even killed in, I don't know, semi-modern times. 100 years ago, Teddy Roosevelt's buddy Bauman talks about his friend up there trapping that got killed by some wild man. And then they were warned about it by ranchers and tribes people in the area, telling them, yeah, don't go up the Wisdom River looking for beaver. There's a wild man up there and he attacks and kills people and stuff. And even to this day, this year, recently, you know, people come up missing around those areas and found dead out of weird circumstances. You know what I mean? That doesn't fit a bear or a goring or something like that. So, really strange area. So, I don't know. Those are the types of areas that intrigue us. You know, it's like, big people seeing Bigfoot and getting killed. You know, we're right in there.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
So that's my 2 cents on Deadwood and the surrounding areas. You know, I just explained how big the area is around Deadwood, and then you know, these extended regions and national forests. You know, north of them, you know, more Bigfoot sightings. An aggressive lineage of Bigfoot, perhaps.
We're debating, Kelly's more so debating on whether or not we're actually going to release some footage of just the drive up to Deadwood once we hit dirt road. And that'll give you a little bit of indication of just how far we have to go.
Before we actually start hiking.
Yep. Keep in mind that it's the first time we ever actually recorded drive time. So, you know, there's a few spots that, yeah, it's a learning process, you know, a little bit of wind. It's hard to understand sometimes. And again, it's just open mic of us driving and just going. I do believe we're going to talk him into actually releasing that at some point. So, but I guess where I'm going with this is, you know, we're talking a couple hours of drive time in dirt road just to get to where we stayed, and there's at least a couple hours of being out in the middle of nowhere driving on paved road before we even got to the dirt road. So it is out there, remote, and absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, when we tracked down the Bigfoot sighting location the first time, you know, you read the report, and you know, I'd had the report for a while, and you know, I I was looking at reports in that general area. I wanted to go up there and check on some of them, and I checked that one out, and I started putting the timeline together, and I'm like, oh my God, 3 Bigfoot sightings all within 24 hours, all within a mile of each other, and well, probably like a half a mile of each other. They were really close to each other, and then not only were the 5 Bigfoot sighting reports, I mean, this was a logging camp of helicopter loggers, and all summer long, all of them are talking about the stuff that happened to them when they're out alone, or just a couple of them out in the woods and stuff, and the wood knocks, the grunts, getting growled at, bull rushed, feeling like something's watching you, smelling its rank smell, Anybody that's a Bigfooter, you guys are like, oh my God, you guys are having a Bigfoot experience, so all these other loggers are saying that they're having all this happened to them all summer long, and then on the same day, all 3 of these guys all 5 of these guys in 3 different instances had a Bigfoot sighting. The 2 guys that were alone, the water truck driver and the logging owner's son that was out deer hunting by the river, both of those guys that had their sighting that day, they quit the job. I mean, I'm talking the owner's son. He quit the job. It took his mom a couple of days to come pick him up, and he stayed in the 5th wheel trailer and wouldn't come out until his mom picked him up to take him home. And the water truck driver that had been with the operation for 12 years, he had his Bigfoot sighting at 4 a.m. in the morning by the river, and he quit and left by noon. I mean, he quit a 12-year job after seeing this Bigfoot. And then the logging boss and his 2 sons in the afternoon that had their sighting, they stayed on the job for whatever reason. I don't know, maybe because there was 3 of them that saw Bigfoot at the same time. Maybe that helps, I don't know. But the 2 loners that saw him by themselves, they quit.
If I understood correctly, actually talking to the curators, the guys that were actually taking care of that actual property, their property borders that wilderness, doesn't it? The River of No Return.
Yes.
They actually take horse trips back into there.
Yes, they want to take us back there.
Yep. Which I guarantee we're going to do at some point or another, but that's another future talk.
Yeah, the ranch owners, all right, the logging crew stayed near and on this ranch. They even rented out 3 of the reclaimed ghost town houses. They stayed in them. And anyway, when the ranch owner's son-in-law says he wants to take you out to a place where he thinks a Bigfooter would want to go in the River of No Return wilderness on horseback, you go with the guy.
Yep. I agree 100%. Ben, what do you think? What do you think of the whole area? I mean, as a researcher...
You've spent a couple of weeks in Deadwood already.
I like it.
That's to the point. I like it.
I'm a to the point person. That we did our first night investigation this last time,
That was awesome.
which I thought was a really good idea until we saw our first set of eyeshine. Then I was questioning our decision, but after that, it was all right.
Well, and not only that, we actually heard something prior to the whole eyeshine. Something that
Yeah.
we never even caught on camera, so there was
No.
some movement going on that you never know
And the
what
first,
was.
yeah, the first set of eyeshine that we saw, we never even identified what it was.
And it wasn't like a deer. The next 3 we were able to identify, and they were deer. And what kept striking me every time we got an identification of a deer, I'm like, well, those ones were different color and they were acting differently. They weren't acting like a deer. The way a deer's eye shine reacts when you get the spotlight.
And it was a lot lower to the ground.
Yeah, it was weird. It did this as soon as the
Scrunched
lights
down.
As soon as the light saw it, it did this weird thing. Like it knew that we were looking at it, and then it even went down farther, and then it just kind of went and it hid.
It reminded me of like a canine. I was like, is that a coyote or a wolf? Because it reminded me of what my dog does when my dog's like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble.
Yep.
I'm in trouble.
I could see a cat
You
doing
know?
it too, actually.
Yeah.
Deer usually perk up and, ears go up and they're staring at you.
Yeah, they
You
get
know, it's a
hypnotized.
completely different completely different than what a deer would have done. To me, anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that was pretty sketchy when you're standing out in the middle of nowhere and like, oh, gee, oh, gee.
Yeah.
But it was cool. We kept going.
Yeah.
And it turned out really well.
Yeah, it was
I
fun.
agree.
What about actually walking in there? I got to bring it up. Walking actually into the buildings themselves. Me personally, I was completely sketched out because especially once we walked up that first set of stairs, and I'm like staring at the ground, and it's like there is no floor.
No.
You know, I'm like, are we really wanting to be here? And then, you know, the building next door had completely collapsed, and they were built at the same time. So, you know, one's already completely collapsed, and the whole time I'm in there, I'm like, man, this thing's gonna fall down on us, man. It's not.
I was nervous the whole time too, man.
He went clear up into the very top of it.
I weigh 200 pounds, and I was like trying to ninja step, like filling ahead. Am I going to go through this? And you know, even though I went up to the top, I stayed on the north side. I stayed on the south side that got the sun all the time. The north side was so rotted that I did not want to walk on that side of the house, especially the further I got up. So I stayed on the side that stayed dried out.
It's kind of a dangerous place too, man. Metal hanging out, you got nails, you got all sorts of stuff in there, man. So it was pretty.
And then there's the mine around it, and you know, we did a day hike before the night hike that day, and we hiked up to where the logging boss and his two sons had their encounter, and it was neat. I mean, everything was a surprise. That's the perks about Bigfooting is you never know what to expect when you go in there the first time, and you know, you find some gems, and it's like, I'm going to come back here just to camp. You know, this is a neat place. Let's hang out here. But, you know, Jenny was worried that we were going to fall in a mine shaft up on this mountain because, you know, it was a major mine and everything. So we were really careful about that.
Too, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there were obviously something had run through.
Yeah, she wasn't being sketchy or anything. Her concerns were legitimate.
Absolutely.
We needed to be careful, and we were. And she kept reminding us, you know, hey, there's mine shafts and stuff here. You know, the ground you walk on may not be solid.
I didn't want to be the idiot that turns up on the news down a hole in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere trying to get out.
Or the guy that disappeared looking for Bigfoot, and everybody thinks Bigfoot took him, but he's down a freaking mine hole.
There's a lot. There's a lot of places that you stepped that you could tell were hollow. But it was a really pretty place, and at the very back end of our hike we found a really nice waterfall where all of the water comes out. It was nice.
Abundant water throughout that entire area. Everywhere we went, you could just tell how much water was really in the area.
And the water
what it could
supply
sustain.
all around and on both sides of the water supply was full of berries. I mean, just go back and look at our videos. You know, there was currants, there was thimbleberries, there was raspberries. We've seen some blackberries, and
There's lots of fish.
Yeah.
Lots of fish.
Yeah, we even filled some of the fish underwater.
We did.
We look at all the food sources. You know, when we go into a Bigfoot sighting location, you know, we're looking for Bigfoot and we're looking for Bigfoot evidence, but we want to see why they're there. You know, and people watch their videos and they're like, you know, well, why are you guys showing berries? Why did you film the fish underwater? It's like, well, what's the Bigfoot eating? You know, are these possible food sources for a Bigfoot? You know, so we'll throw a camera underwater. We'll film the berries. We'll film the edible milkweeds, you know, and the pine nuts. You know, the types of pine trees, you know, some of the that give off the pine nut types cones and stuff. Bears will eat the pine cones and everything. And, you know, I've read some articles and stuff where some of the sap inside of these cones helps create the plug for the bear's hind end to plug him up while he hibernates. Well, you know, does Bigfoot hibernate? Oh, he doesn't? Oh, you know? I don't think anybody knows. You know, Bigfoot may eat the whole pine cone and the pine nuts and everything to plug up his butt during 3 months of winter. You don't know.
Well, there's been a lot of sightings of them actually within the winter.
Yeah, there's sightings of bears.
In the snow.
Bears usually only hibernate 45 days to 90 days during the wintertime. And for some reason, during warm snaps or whatever, however they detect it, the bears will come out and look for something to eat and then come back and hibernate another 45 days. So, you know, they're coming out at opportune times. You can see a bear in the wintertime. So if saying that people see Sasquatch in the wintertime, that he doesn't hibernate, I don't buy into that. I hear a lot of people like our group saying, well, maybe they just hunker down.
Yep. Slow down their metabolism, slow themselves down, and actually use a lot less energy during the winter.
And have some
but still,
food supplies.
Still active. Absolutely. Why not? Bear's going to stuff something underneath the log. Why wouldn't a Bigfoot?
We do.
Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't take that much intelligence. I'm not that
Absolutely.
bright, and I would save food for the wintertime.
It's instinct. It doesn't have anything to do with smarts. It's instinct. It's just inbred into who we are.
All right. Well, sorry, that's not my brain speaking. That's my instinct.
Yeah, even humans slow down in the winter. We're less outside.
We gain weight during the winter because we become less active, and we have all of our wonderful holidays. I love to stuff my face. It doesn't show.
Depends on what you're wearing, Mr. Tank Top.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I had to throw it out there, man.
Anyways,
Moving
it was a really
on.
good trip.
It was an excellent trip, and I guarantee
And
you
we
will be back.
can't wait to go back and ride horses back into the
Wilderness of no return.
yeah. We grew up on horses. I know Derek used to go out there and handle horses with me, taking them out on the walkers and stuff, race horses, some paints. And I grew up riding horses. Jenny grew up on riding horses. We're comfortable on them. And I think that's the way it's going to get done. All of the technical stuff. I know that we got drones and game cameras, and there's FLIRs and IR and whatever out there. I really think it's going to take someone on foot and someone on horseback, just like the Patterson-Gimlin footage, to find Bigfoot. It's going to take what those hard-working guys did. I really appreciate what you
Boots
guys
on the
did.
ground.
You guys went out in a time when it wasn't popular, looking for Bigfoot. And you guys, I don't know, you guys created the Bigfoot community with that video.
Definitely a heck of a good jumping off point, for sure. For sure.
With that being said, our California videos and why we didn't actually go to Bluff.
Oh yeah, a lot of
Moving on.
yeah. We spend a couple of weeks Bigfooting in California every year. Northern California, Southern Oregon. One of our favorite Bigfoot spots out of our general area.
More than that, it's one of our favorite places
Yeah.
in general. I mean, if there's a place, one of the first places I'll ever think about wanting to go is Northern California, Southern Oregon.
Yeah, and we go up to biggest Bigfoot sighting hotspot that we, with our research, has deemed the hottest place in Northern California as far as Bigfoot sighting are concerned. And the Bigfoot sighting reports that we take seriously is the ones that the witness has been interviewed, and the interviewer has deemed them as truthful, or they don't detect that there's a lie in progress or whatever. So, and of course, some of them get backed up with photos or videos. But anyway, we concentrate in the area of Northern California like that, and we just love it, love going there. And we go through the Bluff Creek area every once in a while and stuff, but a lot of our viewers are like, why don't you guys Bigfoot in Bluff Creek a lot more? And it's kind of like one of our areas out here. We have several favorite areas. We don't put all of our eggs into one basket. We have several locations that every once in a while will produce a tidbit of Bigfoot evidence. Yeah, like a footprint, hair, screams, and then the mass amount of sighting reports and everything. But you know, there's an area that I think because of our videos, people figured out where it was at, and they go into there, and there's a couple of groups that, you know, you catch them on game camera, and just by the gear that they're carrying, you're like, oh my gosh, a Bigfooter. And then one group actually stood in front of our camera that has sound and video and talked about Bigfooting. You know,
Talked about us.
yeah, which is fine. You know, it's public property. You want to go in there and hunt, do whatever's legal in the area of Bigfoot, that's fine. But it compromises the area to us, and we can no longer take an area like that seriously. You know, I don't know if you viewers know where we're getting at, but you know, once someone starts going into your area that has Bigfoot on the mind, you know, do they have good intentions? Are they going to go in there and are they going to Bigfoot and look for evidence? Or, you know, are they hoaxers? Are they going to run past our camera in a ghillie suit? Are they going to plant evidence? So once we figure out a couple of people are in an area of ours, even though it's one of our favorite areas, you know, we just can't take the area as credible anymore, and we have to move out. So yeah, we moved out of one of our favorite areas this year, and it's kind of sad, but oh well. Hopefully the Bigfooters that took over our area, hopefully you're credible people and you're not going to go in hoax stuff. You're welcome for our area.
Yep, you're welcome.
Yeah, it took us a long time to find that
Yeah,
place.
we've been Bigfooting since 2007.
I guess where we started off with this whole thing though is that is the part of the reason why we don't go down into Bluff Creek, because Bluff Creek it's a popular tourist area.
Oh,
and
yeah.
let me tell you right now, I absolutely love it, and I can't just totally walk away from it. It's a place that I will return to, but I don't return to it for research. My family, for one, will attest to things that actually happened to us while we were actually driving up towards Bluff Creek. We got hit with a distinct smell. Something obviously was there, and it was not in an area that something could have bounced off of a cliff or rolled down a mountain and hit my car, but we had a rock literally bounce. Something threw a rock and bounced off the top of my car with my entire family in it, you know, and it was our first time actually being there. So, you know, for a sketchy, squatchy, you want a heck of a good time with your family, take them to Bluff Creek. It is absolutely awesome.
It's a great tourist destination.
But it's not a research area because of that. You know, there's so much activity that's going back in and forth of there that you never know what could be possibly credible, and it's the exact same reasons why we had to walk away from one of our areas, and it's for that reason.
A lot of people give us a hard time for not going to one of our spots that we used to frequent quite regularly, but it's either us kind of just walk away and let it be, or us being in there with everybody else. Saying, hey neighbor, how's the squatching today? Oh, it's pretty good. You know, we're not going to go up there and hang out with 5 other groups that have found our area. It's just not what we're going to do.
You know, and that's what I don't understand about the Bluff Creek area. You know, there's a guy out there that sells maps to the place. I mean, he'll give you a map to the exact location. I mean, it's going to cost you a pretty penny, but people buy them, and then for even more money, he'll take you right down there. So it's a tourist destination, and it's really not a credible research location anymore because it's so overrun with tourists. I mean, there's nothing wrong with tourists, but it can't be a tourist location and a research location at the same time. For one, the amount of people going in and out of there, it's going to drive the Bigfoot into the next county. Okay, so it doesn't. So you get a curious or aggressive Bigfoot that sticks around, checks things out, blah, 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 and they happen to get a footprint, a hair sample, or it on one of their cameras. You know, people will argue for the next century that because it's so overran, that someone in a ghillie suit, someone planted that footprint, someone planted that hair. You know, it's no longer a credible research area, but you know, it's a wonderful place. It's beautiful. It's where the Patty video happened. In my opinion, it's the most credible Bigfoot video of all time.
Ever.
And, you know, so it's a tourist destination. I just can't call it a research location. I would not feel comfortable researching in there, feeling the data that I get out of there is credible with that many people in and out.
Might as well put on a roller coaster on that sucker and call Sasquatch.
That's right. But Bluff Creek's beautiful. It's where it happened.
It is beautiful.
You know, there's other Bigfoot sightings in and around there, but
that whole area, not just Bluff Creek, that whole area is absolutely gorgeous, and I love it, and I'll drive through it every dang time I go out there just because I really actually enjoy that whole area.
It is. It's really pretty.
Not to mention there's some good pizza in Happy Camp.
Yes, there is.
love Happy Camp.
I love Happy Camp.
I'll tell you right now, Happy Camp's where it's at. I mean, if you're going to go to the coast and do a Bigfoot sighting tour, you know, go around Willow Creek and up to Happy Camp and up into Grants Pass and down along the coast. I mean, and then, you know, shoot back home. You know, if you're coming, you know, I'm going to step out on a limb and say you're not coming from Hawaii. You're going to come from the direction we usually come from. You know, shoot through Willow Creek. You know, but I think Happy Camp is where it's at.
Actually, take the drive. The whole drive from Willow Creek all the way up to the Oregon border. That whole drive is beautiful. It's well worth your time. If you like road trips, take it. Take that drive because it is a beautiful, beautiful place.
Amen.
California. While we're on the subject of California, we
all went there
recently
together.
got back. We did.
Together. It was fun.
Took a big old expedition, took a big old trip out there, and really enjoyed the heck out of it all. We're going to touch base on, what was our second night there? It was the second night that we were actually there that this all actually went down, right?
No, well, it happened 2 nights in a row.
Well, that's when it first started, was the second night, or the second night we were there, and then it was the night after that we all got together.
Yeah. We heard the vocalizations 2 nights in a row.
But we went looking for him the one night.
Yeah, we were in a Bigfoot sighting hotspot. The area we were in, we did 12 or a dozen Bigfoot sighting reports while we were there, and so the area is just a hot spot. And the first night we heard vocalizations all night, and he camped about a quarter of a mile away from us. And the next day we're like, "Did you hear that going on last night?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, I did." And then the second night when they started up again, we just we grabbed all of our Bigfoot and stuff, and we went over to his camp area and said, "Hey, let's go look for what's making this noise." And we went hiking into the woods in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and it wasn't just
After vocalizations.
It wasn't just the vocalizations of that. I mean, you actually had other animals and wildlife that were within the actual area that were acting, like you said, strange. Dogs going in.
They were freaking out about
nuts.
those vocalizations we were hearing.
The biggest thing that caught me off guard was the birds. The birds were literally going crazy, and we're talking
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning, and just absolutely going nuts when these guys come beating on our camp saying, "Hey, let's go, man." And I'm like, "Let's do it." So Shelly and I jumped out and we went running around actually in the middle of the night. That was actually really cool.
We had 2 IR cameras and just went out looking for it, and hopefully
Spotlighting.
we captured on the camera mics these vocalizations. I'm sure a few of them showed up.
Yeah, they were very odd and loud.
We ran around for a good probably hour, or probably longer than that, huh?
I'm sure it
Hour
was
and a
much
half
longer
we
than
were
that.
running around out there, you know, just spotlighting, checking things out, just looking for evidence in the middle of the night. I mean, there was obviously
Looking for what the hell was making these
there
vocalizations
was
2 nights ago.
obviously something running around, but
And the actual, I want to point out that 4 years ago, in the actual camp area that we were staying in, there was a Bigfoot sighting by a couple there. They were staying on the perimeter of this camp area, and there's actually, the vocalizations were coming from the side of the camp area that they had their sighting 4 years ago.
Yeah.
that was right next to where Shelley and I and the family were
Yeah.
actually staying.
They
It was
camped
right-
closest to the
right
location
there.
where the couple seen that Bigfoot.
Yeah, that was actually cool.
Yeah.
Exhilarating, one hell of a good way to, you know, right in the middle of our, you know, whole trip to Northern California out there squatching and stuff for something like that to happen. That was really cool.
It was unexpected.
It's
Unexpected.
the only vocalizations that I feel were Bigfoot worthy in all of my California expeditions, and we spend a couple of weeks out there every year, and you know we don't go out to LA or San Diego. When we go to California, we're talking prime Bigfoot sighting locations, you know, in Northern California and Southern Oregon. So we try to stay in the places that people are seeing them, and it's the first time in 2007 since we've actually heard something Bigfooty out there as far as vocalizations. So
Everything else has been questionable.
it was exhilarating.
And it went on for multiple nights. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So
It didn't do-
obviously
it
was
didn't do it the third night in a row.
frequently the area.
That's what I'm saying. That's I want to go back a little bit. You know how we say, you know, when a place is getting overrun, it's no longer good for Bigfooting. Us going out there that second night and, you know, making a little ruckus and checking things out, you know,
Spread our scent all over the place.
I'm sure it scared them away. That's why we didn't hear them the third night in a row. So,
Might have had something to do with it though. I mean,
and you know, people watch our videos and like, you know, our nighttime videos, and it's like, you guys are too noisy and all this and that. Man, I challenge you. I challenge you to go out there in a Bigfoot sighting hotspot and you go off trail looking for Bigfoot in the night. And you can take spotlights, you can take headlamps, you can take all the light sources you want. And I challenge you to be quiet and not stumble around. I challenge you.
and at the same time, walk up on 3 different deer, some other unknown animal, blah blah blah.
Yeah, you're stepping in the mud. You're tripping over boulders.
Crunch,
you're-
crunch, crunch, crunch.
sticks, leaves, everything. You can't hover.
Yeah.
We do the best we can.
Yeah, and a lot of times we'll black things out and only go with the IR lights and stuff. And I do not like hiking around that way. I mean, we'll stop and we'll stay in a place for a while and just film with that and maybe move around a little bit, and on a full moon maybe a little bit more, but it's really hazardous.
Pitch black. There's no light pollution at all. It's pitch
No.
black.
Yeah, especially when you got a forest canopy. It doesn't even matter if there's a full moon, it'll be pitch black
It's pitch
with
black.
some of those Northern California canopies.
Yeah, and you don't have any idea what you're gonna walk into. Walking through the brush, you just, I don't know, just covered your face in the stupid spider web. Thank you. You know,
That happens a lot, yeah.
Whatever it is. I mean,
Stinging nettle.
I know a lot of Bigfooters out there, they do the same thing and they experience it. You know exactly what we're talking about.
kudos to every single one of them that actually get out there and do that. In fact, I'm gonna throw out a kudos right now. Name bomb, Anthony.
Hey,
Anthony Moffat, man, that guy hikes he mountain goat that sucker to the top of mountains and stuff, man. Are you kidding me? That kudos, you know.
He's my favorite Bigfooter.
out there doing it.
Next-
Out there doing it.
Next to me. I'm just kidding. Just next to our team. Yeah,
I would
we
have,
really love
I
what
would
you're
have
doing,
to say
Anthony.
though, man. I mean, he's running up and down those mountains and get clear to the top, and it's like, hey, there's a new unknown valley right there. Look me up. I got a drone. I could have told you. Saved you about 8 hours of hiking, but
It won't save him because
no,
Anthony will hike over
you'll
to the
do
next
it
valley.
anyway. You'll
Yeah.
do it anyway, and you know what? Kudos to anybody that has enough to get out there and do that, like we do. At the end of the day, like we do.
It's been so much nicer since we have a drone and we can check out an area and say, oh, there's the pass,
Yep.
you know, into the next valley and
Water
stuff, you know.
source,
But,
this,
you know,
this,
hey,
that.
Anthony, he'll climb to the top of a mountain and get a bird's eye view, and he's like, oh, there's the pass. And then he'll come back and he'll get it the next day.
Yep. Working my way.
Yeah, a lot of times we've ended up where we can't go any farther because it's just a drop off, or a cliff, or some other obstruction.
Yeah, believe it or not, there's dead ends in the forest.
You just don't want to go anymore.
Unless you have wings.
And now we have wings. I mean,
Yeah.
I just love our drone.
Sorry, Red Bull does not give you wings.
Yeah.
Tried it.
Takes one of these to give you wings. And this one has 2 cameras on it, by the way. I just love it for recon. And I don't know, who knows, maybe it'll spot Bigfoot for us one day, you know. A Bigfoot that jumps out as, hey, this is credible, we can say Bigfoot instead of saying, you know, I don't know if you guys noticed it.
Suspect.
And you know, we got a question mark or whatever, suspect, Bigfoot, blah, blah, blah. You know, this is a real good face. You know, when you're in Bigfoot sighting locations and you shoot up 420 videos, you know, 1% of those is going to produce something that, hey, what the hell's that? Let's take a second look. Let's question it. And we don't mind sharing it with our viewers, even though our skeptics give us a hard time for showing that stuff. But if we think it's Bigfoot, there won't be no question mark. It will say Bigfoot. It'll say F-ing Bigfoot.
Instead
Right here.
Which
So that's the title of our video when we find
throw a
Bigfoot.
lot of suspect.
suspect or question marks.
That being
Like a half a dozen
That being
in
said,
7,
Squawk-
8 years.
Squawk, one of the first times, the first time we actually took it up in the 77 sighting location, we actually had a suspect shadow step out from underneath the trees. It was a
step back.
suspect step. It stepped out, and went against natural shadow.
Whatever
So,
kind of animal it
whatever
was,
it was.
I think it heard the drone and its
Yeah.
curiosity. It stepped out of its cover, checked whatever it was out, stepped back. I don't know. It was Bigfoot shaped, but I don't know. Maybe sometimes an elk looks like a Bigfoot from up above. All right, so it was Bigfoot shaped. In my opinion, I checked it out many times.
Suspect,
Yeah, it was suspect,
but it was
you know,
cool. The fact that
There was not enough pixelation there to.
But we can't say what it was because we don't know.
the fact of it was just one of our first experiences of actually,
You know, and just like this, you know, we've had one run up the mountainside from us and hide after we found footprints in the snow. Suspect. Now, even though there's footprints going in the direction where it run up the mountain and stuff, and you know, parts of it were Bigfoot shaped, it's still suspect. It was just too far away. You know, and this is something else to suspect, you know. We've sent this to 2 universities and a museum, and nobody can tell us what it is. We sent them samples this big. You know, 80 to 100 hair samples. And I picked through this big wad, and I found them samples that had real good roots and shafts. The best that I could find. I just wasn't random. I went through and everything. And anyway, this sample right here is still pristine. It hasn't been touched by human hands. But this one, after I'll manhandle this one. I mean, you know what I mean? We found this. We're coming up on the anniversary of finding this. We found this on August 25th of 2013.
following
and-
footprints.
We found this nearly 2 years ago. We reached out to some professionals. Some experts. And we reached out to them and we showed them video of us finding the footprints near them. And they requested samples. We didn't just shove it upon them. They requested them. So we sent it to them, and it's almost 2 years later. And guess what? Nobody knows where this hair came from in a Bigfoot sighting hotspot. And look, there's every color of the rainbow in there. I mean, let me pull some of it out.
Purple.
Look,
There's
it's
some purple.
it's 6 to 8 inches in length, most of the hair.
But there's grays, light browns, dark browns, all sorts of different shades. A little bit of red.
You know, I'm not saying it's Bigfoot, but we found it near Bigfoot footprints, and we don't know what it is. And we spent a week under a microscope comparing it to
RMSO.net. You got microscopic pictures of that hair on the website.
And so far, 2 PhDs and a museum that's probably ran by a PhD, they still haven't said, you know, it's this or it's that.
All right.
I've gotten I don't knows. I got I don't knows.
So, I think that's about all we really wanted to talk about, isn't it?
Did you want to show them that picture?
Oh.
Well, we were at Deadwood. We were driving around looking for places to check out and whatnot, and we passed by something that made my head spin around. And I'm like, stop, stop. We need to look at this. We backed up, we turned around, we got out of the car, and my heart was racing. I was really excited. I was for sure thought that we had found something. We were looking at something good. And no, it was a big old fat stump squatch. So a misidentification is very, very easy to do, and we have a picture here.
We got a couple pictures. We'll actually just input them into the actual video for you, so it's a better quality. You get to actually see them. But we'll put two further away and then up closer to you actually see what it is. But yeah, it was a what the hell moment, that's for sure.
Yeah, it
For
was,
sure.
and it was in Deadwood. It was a good time, but that really freaked me out there for a minute. But it'll get the best of you every time.
Yep. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. So at this point in time, it sounds to me
It's
like
a great round table.
it is.
We'll wrap things up.
So keep on watching.
We're gonna keep on squatching.